If you ask the average cat owner why their cat sleeps on top of them every single night, almost all of them will give you the same answer. They'll say, "Oh, it's just because I'm warm." And look, I get why people think that. It sounds logical. It sounds simple. And it's also, mostly, not the real answer. I'm Dr. Kate Lewis. I'm a veterinarian, and I've had this exact conversation more times than I can count. Someone brings their cat in for a checkup, we get to chatting, and they mention, almost apologetically, "Yeah, she sleeps right on my chest every night. I think she just likes my body heat." And every time, I have to gently tell them, there is so much more going on there than temperature. So today I want to actually walk through this properly, because once you understand what's really happening when your cat picks you as their sleeping spot, instead of the couch, instead of their actual cat bed that you probably spent way too much money on, you're going to look at this completely differently. Let's start with the warmth thing, because I don't want to dismiss it entirely. That wouldn't be honest either. Cats do run warmer than us. Their average body temperature sits somewhere around 101 to 102 degrees Fahrenheit, noticeably higher than ours. So yes, on a basic physical level, your body is a heat source, and cats are drawn to heat sources. That part's true. But here's the question almost nobody asks. If it were really only about warmth, your cat would be just as happy curled up on a heated blanket, or in a sunny spot by the window, or honestly, on top of your laptop while it's running hot. And a lot of cats do enjoy those spots too. But ask yourself this: does your cat choose those spots over you? In most cases, no. They'll walk past a perfectly warm radiator to come find you specifically. That's the part warmth alone can't explain. So what's actually going on? This is where it gets interesting, and honestly, a little bit more touching than most people expect. Sleep is, biologically, the single most vulnerable state any animal can be in. No alertness, no ability to react quickly if something goes wrong. For a species that spent most of its evolutionary history as both a hunter and something that could occasionally be hunted, fully shutting off their senses is not a small decision. In the wild, cats are incredibly careful about where they choose to sleep deeply, usually somewhere elevated, somewhere enclosed, somewhere with limited access points. Letting their guard down completely, in the open, on top of another creature, is about as far from instinctual caution as a cat can get. So when your cat climbs up, settles onto your chest or your legs, and actually falls into deep sleep there, not just a light doze where one ear's still twitching, but real, fully relaxed sleep, what they are doing is making an enormous statement. They are telling their own nervous system, this individual is not a threat. I do not need to stay alert here. I can completely let go. That's not warmth. That's trust. And it's a specific kind of trust that cats genuinely don't extend to just anyone or anything. Now, here's something that actually backs this up scientifically, and I think it's worth knowing because most people assume cats are just too independent to form real attachments the way dogs do. A study out of Oregon State University looked at cats using something called the strange situation test, which is actually the same basic framework researchers have used for decades to measure attachment in human infants. And what they found was that the majority of cats, somewhere around 2 out of every 3, showed what's called secure attachment to their owner. That means the cat used their person as what researchers call a secure base, a sort of safe home point they could return to, the same pattern you see in a securely attached human child with a parent. So when your cat sleeps on you at night, in a strange way, they're running a very old, very deep attachment system, treating you less like a heat lamp and a lot more like the one figure in their world they've decided is safe enough to be completely unconscious around. Okay, let's talk about position, because this is where I think the most misconceptions actually live. A lot of people assume any spot on your body means the same thing. It really doesn't. If your cat consistently sleeps on your chest, right over your heart, that's usually about more than warmth, too. Your heartbeat and your breathing create this slow, steady, predictable rhythm. And there's reasonable thinking among behaviorists that this rhythm taps into something very old for them, similar to the way kittens pile together with their mother and litter mates, surrounded by the sound and movement of other steady heartbeats. It's soothing in a very primal way. If your cat prefers sleeping near your head or even on your pillow, that's often a slightly different thing. Your head loses a lot of heat overnight since it's usually the one part not buried under blankets, so there's a warmth component there, sure. But your head and face also carry an enormous concentration of your personal scent. And remember, scent is basically a cat's entire language. By sleeping close to your face, they're staying immersed in the smell that tells them, without question, this is my person. This is safe. And then there's the cats who prefer your feet, or the very edge of the bed. I actually find this one fascinating because owners sometimes feel a little hurt by it, like their cat's keeping distance on purpose. But it's usually the opposite of rejection. Cats who sleep at the foot of the bed are often the ones keeping half an eye, or half an ear, on the door, the window, the rest of the room. Some behaviorists describe this almost like a night watch position, close enough to maintain the bond and the body contact, but positioned in a way that still lets them monitor the space around you. It's less, I don't want to be near your face, and more, I've got this end covered. So here's the actual myth I want to bust today, the big one. Most people think where their cat sleeps on them, or whether they sleep on them at all, is basically random, just whatever's comfortable in the moment. It's not random. Every single one of those positions reflects a slightly different combination of warmth-seeking, scent bonding, and trust. And once you start paying attention, you'll usually notice your own cat has a very consistent preference. There's one more piece of this I think is genuinely worth mentioning, because it explains something a lot of owners notice but never quite connect. When you pet a cat that's sleeping on you, or even just when they're settled against you, physical contact like that triggers a release of oxytocin, the same hormone involved in bonding between mothers and infants. And here's the part that I think is really lovely. That release happens in both directions. It's not just your cat getting a hormonal reward from being close to you. You're getting the exact same biochemical response. So, in a very literal, measurable sense, that quiet, sleepy closeness at 2 a.m. isn't just your cat using you as a pillow. It's a mutual bonding loop, happening on both ends, whether either of you is consciously aware of it or not. Now, I do want to give you one honest piece of vet advice here, because I think it's important and people don't always hear it. If your cat suddenly starts sleeping on you far more than usual, especially pressed tightly against one particular spot on your body, or if they seem unusually clingy at night out of nowhere, that's actually worth paying attention to. Sometimes that shift is purely emotional. Maybe there's been a change at home, a new pet, a move, a different work schedule, and they're seeking extra reassurance. But occasionally, a sudden increase in seeking out body warmth and closeness can be connected to something physical. Things like early arthritis, where a cat is instinctively drawn to extra warmth for sore joints, or other underlying conditions that make them want comfort more than usual. It doesn't mean every clingy night is a medical emergency, not even close. But if the change is sudden and combined with anything else unusual, a drop in appetite, hiding, changes in litter box habits, it's worth a conversation with your vet just to rule things out. But for the overwhelming majority of cats, and most of you watching this, what's happening is exactly what we've been talking about. Your cat is choosing, every single night, out of every available spot in your entire home, to make themselves completely vulnerable, right next to you. Not because you're the only warm thing in the house, because somewhere in that complicated, independent, occasionally aloof little brain of theirs, they've decided you are their safe place. So tonight, when they climb up and settle in, pay attention to where they choose. Your chest, your head, your feet. Each one's telling you something slightly different, and now you actually know what it is. If this changed the way you think about your cat's bedtime routine, I'd really appreciate you hitting that like button. It helps this kind of information reach more cat owners asking the exact same question. Subscribe if you want more of these breakdowns on what your cat's behavior actually means. And tell me in the comments, where does your cat sleep on you? Chest, head, or feet? I'm genuinely curious how common each one is. Give your cat a gentle scratch behind the ears for me tonight, and I'll see you in the next video.